Welcome back to the summer and fall of 1952. People don't fight duels anymore. They still fight wars. The number of Americans killed in Korea would pass 20,000 that summer, a real war. We also fight Cold Wars, Olympic wars, wars on crime. We like that word. Use it to describe any conflict from a war on termites to Armageddon. In the summer of '52, was television really at war with the movies, or was it more like a duel?
The screen, big. The sun, high. Nearly noon high. That's right, noon high. Stick around. This is a dirty duel, it is. How can the Durango Kid or any B-Western compete with Lucy Ricardo? TV thinks bravery is smarting off to the boss, who's always a man, but not the kind who jumps off roofs or scares away cattle rustlers, sod busters, and sheep herders. If only Miss Brooks, instead of giving out gold stars, wore one. Durango, I'm gonna miss you, kid.
In 1952, television reached more than 15 million American homes. Bad news for the movies. Box office receipts were at a post-war low. In the home, sitcoms were proliferating, and two new ones that fall were Ozzie and Harriet and Our Miss Brooks.
Here, I'll fill it for you.
Our Miss Brooks was a teacher in love, unrequited through no fault of her own.
Pucker up.
Yes, Mr. Boynton.
She was funny and sexy. The biology teacher was a handsome boob. They never did get together.
Please.
All right,
Close your
Mr.
eyes.
Boynton.
There. How was that, Miss Brooks?
Wonderful, Mr. Boynton. The purple one.
Eve Arden was Our Miss Brooks.
People would write me and say, I wish I had a teacher like Miss Brooks, or I do have a teacher like Miss Brooks. And they'd say, I have a Mr. Boynton, you know?
The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet was all about the Nelson family.
Not unless you started, egghead.
Who you calling an egghead, muttonhead?
You call him a muttonhead, chowderhead.
And don't slam.
What'd you say, Pop?
What was the big argument all about?
Harriet Nelson.
Maybe two things have happened in your family life that were funny, that were really funny. But as time goes on, you enlarge upon it and enlarge upon it, right? And then pretty soon, you, in your own head, you were that kind of a family. You were a funny family, you know? And this is what was hard to come up with every week, because something funny doesn't happen every week in somebody's family, you know? And somehow it touched people. They would say, that happened in my family.
Hollywood turned out 108 westerns in 1952, most of them B pictures or worse.
Yippee-yay, yippee-yay, come-a-die-yay, yippee-yay. I'm up in the morning before daylight. Before I sleep, the moon shines bright. Come-a-die-yay, yippee-yay, yippee-yay, come-a-die-yay, yippee-yay. I went to the ball, I draw my roll. They get me out, $9 in the hole. Come-a-die-yay, yippee-yay, yippee-yay, come-a-die-yay, yippee-yay.
The B-Western was dying. Television was killing it. Gene Autry made 6 movies that year, but he knew.
Oh, buckaroo, your riding days are through. Oh, buckaroo, goodbye.
Roy Rogers and Trigger already had given up. Their only picture in 1952 was a Bob Hope spoof on westerns, Son of Paleface.
Don't bury me in this prairie, take me where the cement grows.
Eastern stuff ain't nearly rough enough. I'm the brute who's wrecking the jails, chewing the bars and spitting out nails.
The end of the trail for you, Durango.
One casualty that summer was the Durango Kid, the last of his series released on August 19th. He had been overcoming evil for a dozen years. Barry Shipman wrote many of the scripts in the Durango series to a formula.
Durango Kid was a stereotype, really. He rode White Horse. He was masked. He was fearless. He couldn't really be defeated. Durango comes in anytime you really need him, and you never know how he gets there. His horse is saddled. gets on it, and he rides to the rescue.
They shot B westerns in about a week, often splicing in footage from earlier episodes to save money. Nobody chewed tobacco, nobody ever ran out of bullets. The hero could fight all day without losing his hat or showing a mark on his face.
I'm never going to look at a pretty girl again as...
Durango was too busy chasing bad guys to chase girls. The hero's buddy, played by Jock Mahoney, took care of that.
I was the second romantic lead, so I got to get the ladies and the kisses and all the good things.
Charles Starrett, who played the Durango Kid, made well over 100 westerns. Jock Mahoney, who did most of the stunts for Durango, once had to land on the back of a horse. He asked for time out.
The minute assistant director calls lunch, the old horses say, you know, go to sleep. So I got up in the second story and hit him.
Stay out of the duel, and if everything seems familiar but different, Stanley Kramer, the producer, is familiar but different.
I wasn't equipped to make a Western. I was a boy producer, what was nauseatingly referred to as a wunderkind at that time, but I was making films that I thought, since I grew up in the time of social change, were about something.
Noon was also the first Western for director Fred Zinnemann.
Friends of mine said, why do you want to do a Western? You're an Austrian director, what do you know about Westerns? And the point was that I saw more to it than just a Western. The fact
Out his gun is stubborn. So's an actor who gets his first chance to be in a movie and rejects the producer. Kramer found that out when he meets Lee Van Cleef.
He asked me to fix my nose. And I told him no. I don't think too pleasantly. And the interview was automatically over. Then, called me back. He wanted me to play a heavy. All right. I'd like that. He said, yeah, but...
Except that it isn't a Western.
I didn't see any Indians. I didn't see the stories between cattlemen and sheepmen. I didn't see land barons trying to take over a town. All the old themes weren't there.
And a macho marshal does not marry a Quaker pacifist, unless she's Grace Kelly.
the agent brought a photograph of this very pretty girl. And we all thought she was very pretty, and she looked right. She looked sort of bloodless and very much the virginal type, inhibited and all that. And so we, horse, he was a man who was afraid.
You scared?
And as luck would have it, sounds perhaps cynical, but Gary at that point had been...
By noon, the clock is a versatile character actor.
We photographed clocks on mantelpieces, on walls, in bars, in houses, in churches. I don't know. We photographed a clock every place it could be photographed in order to use them to build the suspense.
He said because her bra had slipped up and she couldn't move.
To protect the town, the marshal break gold stars. The price of peace was higher that noon. Life isn't cheap, except for this one. You get a Duel under the sun and in a magazine for just 20 cents. A whole novel. No cowboys, though. Only the old man and the sea. The writer is a man named Hemingway, a novelist who believes in fighting until the world is called on account of darkness. Come back to 1952 and sunset over the White House. But whose sun is setting?
Return to more of Duels in the Sun, Campaign 52, when our world continues.
I was 10 years old when I built my first model plane. I thought it was fantastic. Flew all of about 5 feet the first time out, but that was enough. I knew then I wanted to fly forever. It's a feeling, it gets into your blood. And after 20 years of flying with Elder, it's still there. Hey, I may never get you to feel the way I do about flying, but sure would like to try.
Delta gets you there. We get you there with care.
On
I say, are you looking for a great chicken? Not me, Gail. Now shoot. Like I was saying, if you want great chicken, go to Kentucky Fried Chicken. They're famous for finger-licking good chicken, and with great fixings like hot buttermilk biscuits and fresh coleslaw. The Colonel's is always a great place to get a great meal. You see, great chicken's not so hard to find.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right.
She talked me into it.
Yes. We call her the baby from another planet. When she looks at me, she goes, Maga?
Since AT&T lowered long-distance prices 30%, it costs even less to call someone you love.
Well, she'll talk if Tom sings to her.
Oh, my baby.
On weekends, you can call all across the country and visit 20 minutes for just $3.52 or less.
Talk to Grandma.
Did you hear that? No, she said goobla. Goobla.
Hers was an India shamed by the British.
I'm afraid you have to leave. You know the rules.
Rules?
Whites only, old boy.
From the bestseller of A Young Woman's Rise from Scandal to the silver screen, Queenie, starting Sunday.
Welcome back to the presidential campaign of 1952. What would American history have been had television been here at the outset? What if we could see that James Madison stood 5'4"? Was that presidential stature? Abe Lincoln looked like a rail splitter, and he had a thin, high-pitched voice. What about these guys? No Jack Kennedys here, no Ronald Reagans. In 1952, television was very kind to Dwight Eisenhower and cured Richard Nixon's political headache.
Headache throbbing like a drum? Don't let it last and last. Get quick relief with Bufferin. It's fast, fast, fast.
New tools for old duels. What would TV try to sell us next?
Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Richard Nixon.
My fellow Americans, I come before you tonight
as damaged goods. Seems that when the candidate was the senator, he had a secret slush fund. Nixon decided to keep his political future from going down the tube by going on the tube. His TV advisor, Ted Rogers, said it was a good idea.
I made certain that he understood how many products that were advertised on television moved the next day or were sold in the next week because they were seen on television, and how effective television was if it were done correctly, and if there wasn't much between the viewer and the product or the viewer and the screen.
The product says he did nothing illegal. If he got a little help from his friends, secretly, it was only the better to serve his constituents. He's just a regular American.
I own a 1950 Oldsmobile car. We have our furniture.
With a regular American debt.
I owe $3,500 to my parents, and the interest on that loan, which I pay regularly, because it's the part of the savings they made through the years they were working so hard.
And he has a regular American wife.
I should say this, that Pat doesn't have a mink coat, but she does have a respectable Republican cloth coat. And I always tell her that she'd look good in anything.
She wasn't there as a prop. I mean, I can assure you of that 1,000 times over. She was on that telecast because he personally wanted her on that telecast as half of a team, of a husband and wife.
The half who speaks says he did take one gift that wasn't for the good of his constituents. What was it?
You know what it was? It was a little Cocker Spaniel dog in a crate that he'd sent all the way from Texas. Black and white, spotted. And our little girl, Tricia, the 6-year-old, named it Checker. And you know, the kids, like all kids, love the dog. And I just want to say this right now, that regardless of what they say about it, we're going to keep it.
That will be remembered as the Checker speech. He will be remembered as a man who doesn't know when to quit.
I don't believe that I ought to quit, because I'm not a quitter. And incidentally, Pat's not a quitter. After all, her name was Patricia Ryan, and she was born on St. Patrick's Day, and you know the Irish never quit.
She wasn't born on St. Patrick's Day, and her mother was German. So what? It's the product that counts in television, and if the viewers buy it, how can Ike turn it down?
Eisenhower is a great man, believe me. He's a great man. And a vote for Eisenhower is a vote for what's good for America.
The Republican Senatorial Committee
and the Republican Congressional. Nixon kept right on talking, and he forgot about the lights, he forgot about the camera. He did not see the tally light go off, and he walked right into the camera. His shoulder hit the camera.
Nixon aide Pat Hillings was watching as the hard-hitting candidate committed his first TV no-no.
He said, I didn't get off on time. I didn't get off on time. He forgot the whole impact of the speech.
I can tell you that when that telecast was over, every single member of that floor crew had tears in his eyes.
They weren't alone. Tear-jerking on television did the trick for Dick Nixon.
Telegrams at the rate of 4,000 an hour pour in overwhelmingly in favor of Nixon.
The Nixon Checker speech established television, if it hadn't been established before, as the most powerful medium in any political campaign.
The man from Abilene. Elect the #1 man.
Eisenhower didn't need a dog. He had a distinguished record and a big smile, a perfect package for Madison Avenue. Jock Elliott was an account executive for Batten, Barton, Durston, and Osborne.
We wanted Eisenhower to use television in the way in which his abilities and his personality came across best, and that was in his dealing with people.
Eisenhower answers America.
The Democrats have made mistakes, but aren't their intentions good?
Well, if the driver of your school bus runs into a truck, hits a lamppost, drives into a ditch, you don't say his intentions are good. You get a new bus driver.
You know what things cost today. High prices are just driving me crazy.
Yes, my Mamie gets after me about the high cost of living. It's another reason why
Ike's commercials featured Ike. Stevenson tried to stay away from his ads.
Vote Stevenson, vote Stevenson, a man you can believe in, son.
Eisenhower was reluctant to make commercials. Stevenson hated the whole idea, and so did his aide, George Ball.
It meant that we weren't going to merchandise candidates for the ideas that they expressed or the views they put forth. We were going to merchandise them as though they were mouthwash or shaving cream or something, a commodity.
Let us be sure that our vision is high enough and broad enough.
Stevenson said he wanted to talk sense to the American people. Try that on TV.
Stevenson was never comfortable with television.
Newton Minnow was Stevenson's administrative assistant.
He hadn't adjusted at all to the new medium. He never would adjust the length of a speech to the fact that you had to get it done in 28 minutes because his speeches would run over time and get cut off.
The time purchased for this program has now elapsed.
Each candidate also traveled about 33,000 miles.
Because a guy is a guy wherever he may be. So listen and I'll tell you what this fella did to me. I never saw the boy before, so nothing could be sillier. At closer range, his face was strange, but his manner was familiar. Because a guy is a guy.
In Casson, Minnesota, the candidates crossed paths, both showing up for a plowing contest and dropping in on the Snows, Henry and Clara, for some eats. Eisenhower got there first.
About 11:30, 12 o'clock, he come in. We first met him right here on this porch.
We had chicken for dinner, mashed potatoes, apple pie with cheese, also fresh tomatoes and from the garden.
And then about 3:30, Stevenson came in on this same steps here in front of the house here. That's where we greeted him.
Eisenhower got chicken dinner and Adley got the leftovers.
That's the way the whole campaign went for Stevenson. Right up to election eve, he was getting the neck of the chicken or the part that went over the fence last. Both candidates made a last-ditch TV appeal. Adley did badly.
And what's your impression, John Fell? You've traveled with me a bit of this campaign around the country. What do you think of it?
Well, I like watching television more than being on it.
I guess that goes for all of us.
It was kind of a family-type situation tragedy.
Hello from Hollywood.
The Republican show was half Hollywood, half Madison Avenue, all slick as a whistle, with television hookups from coast to coast.
Tomorrow, when we go to the polls for the first time, we're going to give out with a resounding, "We like Ike! We like Ike! We like Ike! We like Ike!"
Gee, it almost doesn't look real, does it? In television and in politics, sunsets and sunrises are often interchangeable. Which is that? Well, did you vote Democrat? Did you vote Republican? Or did you like Ike? An old soldier who taught himself a new trick. So many people in both parties liked Ike, we changed his name. Now we call him Mr. President. Come back if you want to hear some other endings of some other 1952 duels.
Return to Duels in the Sun, Campaign 52, when our world continues.
Hey, Bowser, look what I got. Whole wheat, roast beef, lettuce, no Miracle Whip.
A sandwich just isn't a sandwich without the tangy zip of Miracle Whip salad dressing.
Look what you got.
You're about to see and hear some real value news from Ford. Taurus, America's award winner, is also an exceptional value. Right now, get 3.9% financing or $400 cash back. Combine this with a special option package and save up to $950 on the car that revolutionized the American sedan. And there are great values on Tempo and Escort, too. Take advantage of these savings now. See your Ford dealers soon. Have you driven a Ford lately?
When Mother told me the facts of life, she didn't tell me everything. Take Playtex tampons. Fact. It's the only tampon that comes with deodorant or without. And it's great protection. Playtex tampons, when you know the facts.
American drug agents, tortured, kidnapped, murdered.
They told me they were going to kill me.
If you think we're winning the war on drugs, watch 2020 tonight.
Welcome back to our world. Because there was no American TV at Helsinki in 1952, we didn't get to see much of Bob Mathias and Harrison Dillard, Perry O'Brien, Emil Zatopek, names that echo like a litany of the saints for aging sports devotees, names that few people under 40 have heard of. Sic transit Olympia. Television did grab hold of politics like a bulldog in 1952 and has never let go.
TV wanted to show America what happens at a political convention. Result? What happens today at a political convention is what politicians want America to see. And that job the other reporters didn't want, anchorman, well, we changed our minds. However, these days the candidate usually is picked by state primary and caucus, and the convention that once was a political circus is now a TV sitcom that's seldom funny. Intentionally.
They'll be taking the first step in a new...
Political commercials have become very sophisticated, and at least in even-numbered years, inescapable. But they're still successful only half the time. Back in 1952, when George Ball predicted that the packaging of a candidate could put an actor in the White House someday, some people laughed, and some people didn't. In a 1960 presidential debate, Richard Nixon, facing a cool, calm John Kennedy, became a fidgety victim of television.
Did you know that I once had a little doggy friend just like you?
Oh, that's nice.
The real Checkers is long gone, but not forgotten. After 24 years of continuous Olympic competition, the United States boycotted the 1980 games in Moscow. The Soviets boycotted the 84 games in Los Angeles. They should be back in sync for 1988.
Now there are more than 1,600 Holiday Inns, not counting the original one, the one in the movie. High Noon won 4 Oscars. The cowboy hero endures and sells.
Frank Doyle's coming on the noontime train. I need deputies fast.
That ain't gonna do it, Marshal.
And the B Western, it went that-a-way.
Well, there it is the way it was during the campaign season of 1952. In the years that have followed, politicians have become increasingly fond of television. They're more comfortable with it now. It's a useful tool. But is that marriage a good thing for the country? Well, you can sling a lot of mud in a 30-second commercial. You can keep repeating a 5-second slogan and pass it off as political thought. You can surround yourself with flags and dogs and apple pies and win a lot of votes, maybe enough votes. But the camera is relentless. It keeps its eye on you, and someday, sooner or later, you look at it and remember that you can't fool all the people all the time.
I lost my very first, very best friend that summer. Judy was only 7 years old. I was much older at the time, nearly 8. We were practicing flying when her mother hollered for her to come inside. She had a surprise. At the screen door, Judy turned to me and shouted, "See you after supper." I never saw her again. They claimed she wasn't dead, but I knew better. What but death could part such very best friends? And when I heard Judy's family had gotten themselves a TV, the only one on our block, on the very day Judy had disappeared, suddenly what had happened to my very first, very best friend was plain as sin. The television ate her. Must have been a horrible sight. I begged my parents not to buy a television. They eat people, I said. That's silly, they said. And so it goes.
Also in the summer and fall of 1952,
the FCC had lifted a freeze on granting TV licenses. One of the first new licenses went to KTBC, Austin, Texas. Owner, Mrs. Lyndon Johnson.
the estate of the late William Randolph Hearst was reappraised for $40,449,214.70.
Billionaire Tommy Manville married his 9th wife on July 10th. On August 9th, they were divorced.
Dr. and Mrs. Norman Vincent Peale were the first husband and wife team to broadcast a religious program on television.
The United States was asked to move its embassy in Moscow. The Russians wanted the land for a university.
The first issue of Mad magazine was published in August.
On July 7th, our world cameraman Ken Sanborn was born.
For a transcript of this broadcast, send $3 to Our World Transcripts, 2 John Street, New York, New York, 10038.
For the Our World Viewer Guide, write to Community Relations, ABC, 1330 Avenue of the Americas, New York, New York, 10019.
Liza Minnelli and Clint Eastwood join an all-star cast when ABC celebrates 100 years of unforgettable memories. Happy birthday, Hollywood, Monday, May 18th.